Dave Chappelle said, if this is what being canceled is like, I love it. He was at the Hollywood Bowl. He got a standing ovation from the likes of Brad Pitt. I'll talk about that and all the Dave Chappelle news in the second half of the podcast. First up, late night, the Senate Judiciary Committee released a report on Thursday. It was titled Subverting Justice, How the Former President and His Allies Pressured the DOJ to Overturn the 2020 Election. You got the setup? Stephen Colbert said, so far I've only read the title page, and it seems to be about how the former president and his allies pressured the DOJ to overturn the 2020 election. Seth Meyers, according to a new Senate report, former President Trump directly asked the Justice Department on 9 separate occasions to overturn the 2020 election. 9? Was he in the backseat of the car? We overturned the election? No. We overturned the election? No. That is a great callback to the Simpsons joke from 25, 30 years ago, maybe now. Will you take me to Mount Splashmore? No. Will you take me to Mount Splashmore? No. Jimmy Kimmel. Trump really thought he could get away with throwing out the vote. He told people to DOJ, you guys aren't following the internet the way I do, which I assume means they aren't Googling mushroom penis normal over and over again. Kimmel. Fortunately, lawyers at the Department of Justice threatened to resign en masse if he replaced the Attorney General, who refused to do his dirty work, with one of his cronies who presumably would. He's such a Karen, isn't he? Let me speak to the Attorney General. He won't? Well, does he have a supervisor? Put him on the phone. Pretty funny. Kimmel. Of course, there was no acknowledgement of this attempted coup, and that's what it was, from his fellow Republicans. Senator ChuckGrassley's office issued the GOP version of the report, which says, and I quote, Trump listened to his senior advisors and he followed their advice and recommendations, which is a nice way of saying he wanted to overthrow the government, but the lawyers wouldn't let him do it. Seth. But that's how close we came. Trump tried every avenue he could think of, the courts, the states, the vice president, the Justice Department. He's like the guy in gridlock traffic who keeps switching lanes and then throws his hands up when it doesn't work. Hey, this sucks. Denis Leary had to cancel his annual Comics Come Home benefit. The reasons given were challenging circumstances beyond our control. The laugh button speculates that is COVID related. We don't know. It would have starred Denis Leary, Jon Stewart, Roy Wood Jr., Sam Jay, Robert Kelly, Lenny Clarke, Orlando Baxter, and Carolyn Plummer. Refunds will be made available at the point of purchase. They promise to come back in 2022. It is a fundraiser, so it sucks that that is not happening. Kim Kardashian West is your host on Saturday Night Live tonight. See, I actually said the T. Longtime listeners know that I am self-aware that with my Queen's accent, I often say something like Saturday Night Live, and I don't actually pronounce the word. I don't know why I do that. I've been doing it for 40 years. I'm aware of it. But on Saturday Night Live, which has 3 syllables, Kim Kardashian West is your host. NBC released a promo. Kim is with Cecily Strong and musical guest Halsey and asks, I don't have to write sketches, do I? Memorize lines? Halsey said, no, there are cue cards. Cecily Strong said, no, absolutely not. Kim said, this is so easy. After SNL announced Kim Kardashian would be the host, Debra Messing tweeted, I mean, I know she's a cultural icon, but SNL has hosts generally who are performers who are there to promote a film, TV show, or album launch. Am I missing something? Steve Carrell has a new show. It is a half-hour limited series coming to FX. It's called The Patient. It's written by the guys that were the showrunners for The Americans, a great show if you've never seen it. In this one, Steve Carell's The Patient. The Patient revolves around a psychotherapist who finds himself held prisoner by a serial killer with an unusual request to curb his homicidal urges, but unwinding the mind of this man while also dealing with the waves of his own repressed troubles creates a journey perhaps as treacherous as his captivity. Steve Carell will play Alexander Strauss, a psychiatrist who's recently lost his wife. Behind his cerebral, sensitive exterior, he has yet to plumb the depths of his own pain and loss. This may have you wondering, hey, is Steve Carell not doing Space Force? Good news, there will be a season 2 of Space Force starring Steve Carell. Coming back soon for 15th season, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. They tweeted an image, and did you see Mac's new look? He has 2 earrings, long hair, and a horseshoe mustache. The AV Club says it's the most Philly dirtbag look that Mac has supported on the show yet. No word on a date for season 15. McElhaney told the AV Club in 2019 that Larry David advised him to never stop the show, just keep doing it, because if they ever do a final episode, fans will just destroy you for it. In case you're curious, Charlie looks the same, and Dennis looks the same. We did not see D. There's a trailer out for Tiffany Haddish's new murder mystery dark comedy series coming to Apple TV. 8 episodes set at a high school reunion after party. It will feature a retelling of the same night told through a different character's perspective, each with their own unique visual format and film genre to match the teller's personality. The After Party on Apple TV Plus in January. Ricky Velez has a special coming out on HBO. His trailer's out. The special's called Here's Everything. In the trailer, he talks about being Irish and Puerto Rican, how he's happy that his baby's not ugly, and how he approaches commenting on his friends' ugly babies. I see the rule of 3 writing there. Rule of 3 writing is, hey, this thing, that thing, and a third thing. Do it all the time in my copywriting. The special was filmed at Brooklyn Steel last August. It debuts on HBO October 23rd. Theo Von also has a special coming out. His will be on Netflix. It's called Regular People. It'll be out on October 19th. This one was filmed at the Ryman in Nashville. Theo Von shares stories of his most memorable childhood friends, offers tips on how to effectively avoid work, and recounts the time he tried to play matchmaker in his hometown. Did you notice the rule of 3 again? I did. And real quick, a unique comedy event coming to Western Nebraska Community College tonight. Why am I mentioning this? Because it's different. Comedian Keith Wen will present his personal style of slapstick physical comedy. However, the show will be performed completely in American Sign Language. The event was put together by the Nebraska Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing to raise awareness for those with hearing difficulties. There will be a voice interpreter for hearing audiences to follow along. Chappelle stuff after this. From Chortle, Dave Chappelle's documentary making a European premiere amid transphobia storm. Dave Chappelle's documentary Untitled was shot in his hometown, depicts the challenges facing a rural village in Ohio during the early days of the pandemic. It received its world premiere at the Tribeca Film Festival in New York this summer. It'll come to Cineworld in London's Leicester Square on Sunday, October 17th. The screening is in the middle of a bunch of gigs that Dave is doing at the Eventim Apollo in Hammersmith, running from Tuesday until October 21st. And Chortle says, as Dave weathers a new storm about transphobia in his latest Netflix special, The Closer. Now, for all the articles I've read you over the last 2 days about people having a problem with the special, I'm going to read some feedback that I've got on my own timelines from comedy fans, and I'm about to tell you what went down Thursday night at the Hollywood Bowl. The Bowl had a screening of the documentary. Chappelle got a standing ovation. He told the crowd, if this is what being canceled is like, I love it. I don't know what to tell you, except I'm a bad MFer. He got tremendous applause from the crowd, which included Brad Pitt, Tiffany Haddish, Donnell Rawlings, some of the other people on the bill, not in the crowd, they were on the bill, Snoop Dogg, Nas, DJ Jazzy Jeff, Stevie Wonder, Lizzo, and John Hamm. Did you hear that text? That's my daughter, wondering if I want iced coffee. You know what I'm going to say, right? That's right. Let's get back to Chappelle. I can't digress today. Dave Chappelle at another point in the evening was more blunt. He said, F Twitter, F NBC News, ABC News, all these stupid-ass networks. I'm not talking to them. I'm talking to you. This is real life. The Hollywood Reporter adds, despite a strict no cell phones policy during Chappelle's Hollywood Bowl show, a video has surfaced showing Stevie Wonder offering brief remarks during which he tackled 2 subjects, comedy and cancel culture. After being escorted into the lights by Dave Chappelle, who seemed genuinely moved throughout the course of the night, Stevie Wonder said, what we need to cancel is hate. What we need to cancel is fear, because we have to love. We should never cancel that. I want us to cancel the idea of feeling that we don't want anyone to laugh, because if we don't laugh, we cry, and I don't believe that was God's intention ever. The Hollywood Reporter says, for his part, Dave Chappelle delivered an earnest moment when he doubled down on themes he displayed in the documentary. Do something nice for someone who looks nothing like you. The show wrapped up at 11 p.m. with a fireworks display. Dave said, we have to trust one another. The National Review watched Dave Chappelle's The Closer and wrote, I have to say, all this work was for nothing. And watching it the night it premiered on Netflix, I knew it would be for nothing. I hate to say it, wokeness isn't just making a lot of comedians settle for clapter. It's actually weakening Dave Chappelle. I like that term clapter. I've talked about this. I remember saying that about Tom Papa's special. It's when the comedian does like this long thing and the audience doesn't laugh, they clap. From an audience standpoint, when you see the comedian getting claps, I don't think that's good. You're there to make us laugh. Let me back up. Wokeness isn't just making a lot of comedians settle for clapter. It's actually weakening Dave Chappelle, writes the National Review, who should be in the strongest position to challenge it, but he just can't. He's trapped. He knows that the media control the perception of his work. There's no mental model in his lifetime on the pendulum swinging the other way. On these issues, no disagreement is tolerated. Good faith is ruled out. You're not allowed to be famous and to disagree about this without being perceived as some kind of right-winger or moral monster. I've been laughing at Chappelle's work for a quarter of a century now. Chappelle can make almost anything funny, and there are lots of riotously funny jokes in the special, but the effect of engaging with his past critics and the criticisms he's anticipating made this special feel defensive and tedious. Chappelle is unwilling to say, F you, I don't care what you think, and move on to another subject. In trying to politely carve out some room for disagreement without actually undermining the power of those cultural authorities, he ends up playing the game on their terms. We're all losers for it. When he's talking about what it's like to live in Ohio, he's hilarious, but almost all the special is a form of pleading with his critics, and it was always going to inspire them to be rougher with him than before. America has this Puritan streak, and it is deadly for comedy. I've been asking you guys what you thought of Dave Chappelle's special. Been doing that on Facebook. The Facebook group is Daily Comedy News Podcast. I'll put the link in the show notes. You can also do this on Instagram at Daily Comedy News. Now, obviously, people that follow Daily Comedy News Podcast on Facebook or on Instagram are fans of comedy. And to promote the podcast, I've been running a targeted ad targeted at fans of Dave Chappelle who also like podcasts. So I am not surprised to see that when I ask, what did you think of Chappelle's special? I'm getting 100% universal, without even one person saying no. Everyone loved it. But I'm surprised not even one negative comment. Here's what you guys are saying. James Abreu said, the GOAT, Thinking Person's Comedy. Peace. Jason Williams loved it. Jonathan Marshall loved it. My favorite of his recent Netflix specials. Michael Bowles, he makes me think about things from a different point of view. Empathetic even. Brian Maloney loved it. Kedron Hope, wish I had 2 more hands to give this show 4 thumbs up. LaRon Stroud, funny as hell. Fabian Soul, super funny LOL. Edward Pearl, love it. Marlon Floyd, he's just saying what everybody else is scared to. An opinion or a joke is exactly that, and people don't have to like it, but Dave ain't getting canceled. Josh Moore might be his best one ever. He's legend in my book. Rich White, anytime you piss off liberals, it's gold. Would love to know what you think. Hit the Facebook group, Daily Comedy News Podcast, or Instagram at Daily Comedy News, Twitter as well at DCN Pod. Follow this show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. Meet you back here tomorrow with even more Chappelle.